It was the year 1944, and the Holocaust was at a breaking point. Coming to the end of the war, the Germans knew they had to do something soon. Experimenting on captured Jews was nothing new, but what was about to occur would be something totally different. They chose two random twins from one of the smaller concentration camps and took them to Birkenau to begin experimenting. These twins had no idea what kind of impact they would have on the war. The German officers led them to a large room full of what seemed to be large test tubes. Inside the tubes were the bodies of other Jewish twins. They could tell they were Jewish due to the Star of David branded on their backs. The German scientists brought the twins to a table and told them to sit, and explained what they were going to do. They told the twins they were going to use the siblings in an experiment that will help the Germans win the war. In return, the twins would be freed for helping the country. Test after test was performed on the twins to see if they would work. After a few days, a German scientist came into the twins' room with a smile on his face. He explained that they were a perfect match and would begin the real experiment in a few days. Days passed, but finally a few scientists came to the twins' room and nodded for them to follow. The Germans led them to a small room with a large table in the middle. The scientists took the twins to it and strapped them down. The Germans covered their faces with a damp rag. As they became lightheaded, the twins grabbed each other's hands and went to sleep. The moment the twins awoke, they knew something was wrong. Still blurry-eyed and lightheaded from being drugged, they tried to sit up. When they attempted, they realized they were strapped down. Panicking a bit, the twins looked at each other. Terror ran up and down their spines. The twins were surgically sewn together from shoulder to shoulder. Each one had control of the opposite side, much like the brain does with a single person. A scientist walked up to them and said something in German, then laughed and wrote something down. The newly conjoined twins just looked at each other and passed out. A few days later, the right twin woke up only to see an IV in his arm. The bag that the IV ran to was filled with a strange blue fluid. Then he understood what it was. The blue fluid was a growth enhancer. During the days the twins were asleep, their new form had grown to at least 20% larger than their original size. They were almost hanging off of the table they were laying on. The arms weren't strapped down, but he didn't dare move. He didn't want to wake his sister up and make her go through this any longer than she has to. He decided he would go back to sleep, but when he tried, he heard gunshots from inside. A German scientist ran up to them and pulled the IV out and told them to come with him. Walking wasn't hard as they thought it would be, more like common nature. German troops and another army the twins didn't recognize were in the middle of a battle. Some Germans yelled for the twins to charge. Without thinking, the twins ran into the enemy, ripping some apart, trampling over others. They were virtually immune to gunfire. It must have been another effect of the blue fluid. Before they knew it, the battle was over. Battle after battle was won by the twins, though they grew tired of fighting. A few weeks after, another battle broke out. The conjured twins ran out to fight back. The German officers were yelling orders, but all the twins could focus on were other Jews watching the battle from behind an electric fence. At the moment, they both had the same idea. they would fight the ones who made them and free the other Jews. They began to charge at the Germans, devastating them. The German troops had no idea what was happening. Before long, the troops have been dwindled down to a few hundred. The twins were finishing off the last few Germans when a sharp pain shot through their back. Falling to their knees, they glanced behind, only to see another conjured monstrosity, even bigger and stronger than they were. Then the left twin realized who they were. The twins with the Star of David branded on their backs. The twins fell on their own back. A Star of David was there, burning and bleeding. They felt themselves lose consciousness. The last thing they saw was the scientist standing over them, smiling and laughing. The twins are executed for treason. All evidence of them was destroyed. Many other conjured twins were made, much like them, only bigger and stronger each time. Some followed in the footsteps of the first twins, and some stayed loyal to Germany. Either way, when the need for them was over, they were just executed like the other Jews, and never to be spoken of again. Now that's another experimental creepypasta down the dust. I gotta say, this one was a little bit off, considering since when you're trying to conjure two people together into one, and it does kind of look a bit messed up. But I gotta give these two twins the credit for turning on their German masters, but eventually were killed for their actions. I mean, of course we all know about the history of what Germans did to Jews and other sorts of people back in the Second World War, and they've probably done all sorts of other experimentations as well, and we basically know how messed up the Germans were back then. Only because that they were taking orders from one man by the name of Hitler. So anyways, what do you think about this creepypasta? And you think it's gonna be, if you think you can make it better, you can feel free to put a comment down. You can also feel free to rate and favorite this video, subscribe to my channel, look me up on Facebook and all that, and I'll be doing more creepypastas and hope to get this stuff done before Halloween begins, and so anyways, this is Marshall Dion signing off.